Good evening, everyone. We are in the Public Arts Subcommittee of Wednesday, July 5th. Costumes follow, Peace Collective, Class Squamish, Owayo. Welcome to the traditional territory of the Squamish Nation. There's an agenda in front of the committee. Looking for a motion about the agenda. We're going to ask Stan Mastercheck ready to the agenda. That's right with everyone. Moved by Meg, seconded by Sydney. All those in favor, opposed, if any, motion carries. We have committee minutes. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes. Moved by Toby, seconded by Sydney. Any errors or omissions in the minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Is there any business arising from minutes? Yeah, Mike.
I have a question on page 2, item 4, the Clark Guilford Watershed Public Art. Is that on a pumping station? That's a pump station, is it? Mm-hmm. Okay, I wasn't there on that, so
Sydney can give you an update on that.
Mm-hmm. It was only that detail actually that I was kind of scratching my mind, because I know we've done hydro boxes and that kind of stuff, so
yeah.
I wasn't sure.
It's one of the district's own utility pumping stations.
Yeah, cool.
Any other business arising from the minutes? We can always add something to the round table. We do have Devin on the phone. She is under the weather, but she is going to try to do her reports from the phone. But first off, we got Stan here who's going to talk about the room.
Yeah, can I plug it into
Absolutely. So
computer? It's all just a bunch of JPEGs.
You're Robert, Terry can make sure Stan.
I think I can.
Is there a thing for tonight?
An agenda?
An agenda.
Yeah, we usually do.
Thank you.
I have one on my computer, you can take one.
Is that the way it's
Oh, it's okay, this one here. Thank you.
No, it's not House one.
You got it?
I think.
Is that the what you want to open?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just do this.
Has everyone had a chance to go to the library? Look good? Yeah. Okay, yet. I couldn't make the opening, I was in seat shortage, so. But it looks really good out here. And how was that little wall?
You know, I haven't been to the little wall when it's.
No.
Right.
No, it doesn't look right.
No, it
It's
doesn't.
just a bunch of JPEGs on it. I have a Mac, so I just.
Oh,
But it's all JPEGs and.
I don't see them. We got a Mac PC conflict.
Uh-oh.
I have a Mac with.
What kind of file is it?
They're all JPEGs. I just.
Oh.
I think there might be some.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
This computer's wired into the system, so that's why.
Ah, right.
Okay. I have a Mac too. Well, she do.
Well, I can pass around my phone, which has a couple of
Usually it doesn't do much, eh?
images. Yeah. I should have done an email, I guess, beforehand. You guys can continue on with your meeting, and I can come
Okay,
back
why don't we
in
let Stan
5
right
minutes.
there?
I can rip out and come back, and I'll be back
So
in a
we'll
second.
move up, Devin to update on public art applications. Devin, you want to take this over?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to imagine in front of you a really nice PowerPoint with images of the completed 2 applications, or of the, specifically the overpass, underpass mural at the end of Pemberton in time 99. That was completed shortly after the last Public Art Committee meeting, and just in case anyone didn't know where it was or didn't have the opportunity to go and swing by and take a look at it, it's a great piece, and the teachers responsible for that thank the Public Art Committee for their contribution to that project.
And this is the one that the alternative school students did.
Correct.
I haven't seen it yet. Can you email it to me?
Yeah, absolutely, and I suspect that this is going to be a trend for today's meeting. Anything that I'll speak to, I'll make sure the committee is emailed out the presentation.
If you can't even just email it right now, I can show it to the committee.
Oh, I don't have access to my file.
Okay. Okay, and then the PBR station at Clark?
Yeah, I don't know if Vicki wants to speak to this, but there's a very promising public art camp through the Squamish Arts Council being run next week. Vicki could probably jump in with more specific timing. But operations has really come to the table for us in supporting that location and ensuring that it's safe for both participants and traffic there. So I'll throw to Sydney now in case you have anything to add.
No, it's pretty much the base of it. I mean, Toby's the facilitator, so Toby's going to be running the camp. It starts on Monday, goes through till Friday, and through the grant, we've also been able to hire a photographer / videographer to capture pieces of it. So hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have little parts of all the camps put together in a nice video, including our grant camp. Toby, do you have
As far as our operations support, they are going to be providing pylons.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a traffic safety program that opts it up, and they're going to be supporting with candlestick pylons and official
Traffic control devices.
Yes.
That's what it's called.
Yes.
Those things. And then we've also received from the line, we've also received safety vests and caution tape as well from other community partners. Yeah.
Awesome, so this starts on Monday, and it runs for how long?
5 days.
Oh, so all week next
All
week?
Yeah,
Wonderful.
9 to 4. Yeah.
Anyone else to visit?
Yeah.
Toby's birthday.
No driving fast around that area.
Yeah. I suspect you're gonna have quite a few people stop and ask questions, so just be sort of maybe prepared to have someone be a bit of an advocate or a
Yeah.
bit of a
Yeah.
communicator, ambassador
Yeah.
on site. Because I think you'll get lots of comments and questions, which is great. Anything else on that, Devin?
No,
Thank-
nothing from me.
Thank you very much. Creative crosswalks?
So the Creative Crosswalk, which is the train track or the railroad track that we're going in at the south end of Junction Park, got finished moments before the Canada's Day festivities on Friday. So thank you to Operations for making that happen. Again, if you, I'll send out photos of the completed crosswalk to the committee so that they can take a look at it. The Brackendale Elementary School crosswalk, we've been going back and forth with Operations and with our capital project manager to get it to a point where everyone's happy with it, and I will be emailing that out shortly. We've got a color and a design that from at least a safety perspective and an ops perspective, they are happy to endorse, and so I'll be emailing that out shortly to the members of the committee who would like to comment on it. From there, Mayor will get you and student, after it's painted, to do a photo op and a handshake sort of thing.
Awesome. I can't remember, was it Sydney and Toby that, or who volunteered to be sort of the public art committee connect people on that? With Toby, and there was somebody else. Fran, was that you?
Possibly.
It might be in the minutes. It might be in the minutes. Just a reminder that that's. I think it was 2 people who volunteered to sort of give some feedback instead of having to go through the whole committee. That we get a few lead up to. Okay.
Yeah, we went. The intention obviously was to show you prior to this meeting, but it did go through a variety of iterations. And we wanted to maintain the integrity of the initial piece that it took a few tries for both stops and the capital project manager to be happy with it.
I appreciate the effort, and it does here in the minutes. Toby and Fran who were voluntold. Awesome. And so when do we anticipate that actually being painted? Do you think sometime in the summer?
Next week or the week after.
Great. Sid?
Once we're done, I just have something to say about the under overpass mural.
Okay, you can do that now.
Okay. I was there last weekend, the weekend before, and not so great news. I mean, maybe I just want to say it as an FYI, but it's been tagged quite heavily. So I just want to bring that.
Underneath?
Yeah. So I want to bring that to the committee's attention. I was pretty upset when I saw it, but there's 2 large tags. I don't know if any more have been put on since I saw it, but that happened. So I'm not sure even if the school knows at this point. They seem to be, yeah, just jerks.
That's, did you ever?
It's like
Yeah.
the code, artist
Yeah.
code, no over tagging on art, like on,
So these are not
Girls.
artists, these are, I was going to say another word that starts with A, but I won't say it out loud.
Right, yeah. I've noticed the same tags on the railway bridge that leads to Meg's area. So I think it's all the same people. So,
Yeah, that's too bad. Catherine, did you ever have as well?
No, I probably was trying to strangle the people who did that.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Update on mural project, Devin?
Yeah, that was really just, as you guys were discussing, the library mural is complete, and the one at Brennan Park is well underway and due for completion, I would say, in the next week or so. So again, envision a nice PowerPoint with some photos of each of the projects that I can email out, and so you guys have a sense of where things are at. I know the library is quite pleased, and I know Brennan Park is not far away from being completed as well.
Yeah, I was really sorry to miss the unveiling last week. I was at a board meeting up in Seton Portage, and I was really sort of a little upset to actually miss it, but I'm glad everything really worked out there. It was great.
Yeah,
And I know Stan, I think, is going to come back, so we might be able to get a up-to-date on how he's doing over there at Brennan Park.
Yeah.
Hydro box competition?
So the hydro competition, I know everyone's been very eager for that to go out. In receiving feedback from BC Hydro and the school, I have delayed it just for another few weeks, given the fact that then teachers will, the principals of the 2 schools indicated that they would be highly interested. The timing moving into the summer months is not ideal, and so it's something that they very much wanted to tackle during the kickoff of the school year. So we're going to reserve those 2, as directed by the committee, those 2 hydro boxes, and we'll go up with the competition shortly for the remainder of the boxes. If I could touch on item number 3, just quickly on the agenda, as it kind of relates. There's a new wrap opportunity along Government Road across from the Watershed Grill, where there's a bunch of hydro boxes. Our capital project manager installed some new equipment, and it came colored the wrong with the wrong wrap, the wrong color. And so we have an opportunity there to increase that inventory as a location for potential public art, or we can include it in the competition for the BC Hydro location. I will.
And it's hydro, not one of ours?
No, it's a combination between some hydro boxes and one of our boxes.
And is that at the south end of that parking lot?
Correct.
Everyone familiar with that? Yeah, there's some pretty prominent ones there. It's a great spot. We need to fix that whole parking area. at
2
some
or
point.
3 green ones, and then one,
Silvery something.
say like manila or yellow that very
Oh,
much
yeah.
stands out against the remainder of the landscape. And so I think that there's an opportunity there for the Public Art Committee.
Like, Uli's already put one up there. It says,
Yes.
Uli says slow down. I'm not sure it's art. Well, maybe it is, I don't know.
It's Duro.
Duro, that's right. Duro says slow down. So just so we're clear on this, we're gonna put the Hydro Box out for proposals in the coming weeks, but we're gonna
Yeah.
hold the two near the high schools so that we can do them with the students.
Correct.
Okay.
And so, the intent is for your first meeting back in September, just reviewing those entries.
Awesome. And so are we up to date on the murals, the BC Hydro Box competition and all that? We're up.
Yes, I can move along to the budget update, which very much will be, I will email the committee out.
I've got the budget stuff here, Devin.
Pardon me?
I've got the budget stuff right in front of me.
Can we have
Okay.
that?
So, well, I don't have copies of it, I only have, the only item that's changed from last month is the $500 that was allocated to the Squamish Arts Council for the Clark pump station, was sent out mid-June.
So can you just go over what
So,
we spent, what we have
Yep,
left,
there's-
what's allocated?
there's still $44,712. There was, that's the provision, in the provisional budget.
Is that in the money we've put aside to save, or is that in what, the overall budget?
It's the provision, so that must be the money that you put away to save.
Yeah, okay.
Because the other one's 25,000? This one's-
Well, I can't remember the exact numbers, but we determined of sort of the 50 grand
Yeah,
that we get every
that's
year, put 25 grand, and this would be
Yep.
the second year that this is happening.
And
So we should have about 50 grand in the maintenance operational budget, or the savings budget. No, wait, that's the savings budget. And then we said we'd put away 10,000 into maintenance, blah, 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 and then we said 15,000 for small projects, mural projects,
Yep.
et cetera. So what do we have left
yep,
of the
in the
15?
public art, the 50,000, only $564 has been spent, so there's,
Except
that
we
math
will
is-
have to pay for the 2 mural projects.
that came out of a different account. That came out of, the 2 mural projects came out of public art program. There was $4,000 put right into that, and 2,000 went to each of the murals.
No, it was more than that, though.
That's what this one says. The children's library art piece,
The
Was
secondary
2,000
check may not have hit the account yet.
Yeah, I think it was close to 4 grand each.
okay, well, that hasn't gone through then.
Okay. So,
And then there's $15,000 in a second public art program account,
still,
still.
is that left over from last year? If we could get this in front of us so we could have a look at it. that'd be
I
good.
wasn't aware.
If I may, what I'd like to do is finish reconciling the account with what has been allocated to date and email the committee out from there.
Okay. Stan Clark Park Mosaic update, next steps.
Yes, so I had a very productive meeting with Bruce Waller, who's a known mosaic. We met on Monday, June 19th, and I'm awaiting a complete proposal from him very, very shortly.
Proposal,
Um,
sorry.
Pardon me?
I wasn't here last meeting. Proposal for what?
We didn't really go over specifics. We're gonna get someone to come up to give options, so I think,
Okay.
is that what he's doing? Sort of saying,
Correct.
this is what he
Yeah,
thinks
so-
it'll take to fix it?
That's exactly it. So the proposal is really his thoughts and opinions on what could potentially be done or not done with the project. I'll take you through some notes. His initial reaction was to remove the portion within the high traffic area and replace it with slab concrete. Then every summer, some patchwork could be done to extend the life of the pieces. He cited examples of Europe and London that the deterioration represented the fabric of time, and that some of the holes, some of the minor holes, he didn't think really needed to be fixed, but that patching needed to be done in some of the higher traffic areas. Further from that, developing a maintenance plan in conjunction with the established life cycle. So what we as the committee need to contemplate over the next little while is what would our ideal life cycle of this project be, and then determine how we support it from there. The outside joints need clearing and from swelling, and they need to be caulked in order to initially support it. I mentioned that Bruce is recommending living with the odd wear and tear. Some of the ideas that came out, which I think are compelling, is that with the detailed photos, if we could do an art exhibit of the photos of the mosaic if it were to be altered. Tracking students down that worked on the project during its inception, creating a community engagement call out to people to come back and work on a piece. Bruce also often works with another known artist named Ann Wilson, who works with Squamish Nation and wondered if there was an opportunity there to work with Squamish Nation youth on the restoration of the project. So these are, as well as the final note, what sponsorship opportunities, and if there was an appetite for the committee to entertain sponsorship opportunities. And so these were all the items that we discussed that Bruce is putting down in a proposal for the committee to consider and to discuss. I think if I could lead the committee to debate what they determine is the life cycle of the project, that we could use that as a jumping off point.
Any thoughts on that? I don't know what would be typical. I mean, it's almost 20 years old as it is.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
who is Bruce?
Bruce?
Is he
Bruce
from,
Wall.
yeah, is he from Squamish?
No, from Vancouver, I believe.
And he's a mosaic artist, or he's a tile person, or?
I believe he's a mosaicist. Is that correct, Devin?
That is correct. He's a well-known mosaicist, where his work is featured across different communities in BC, most recently in a series of mosaics in the downtown east side in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Heather Deal
Yeah,
was
recommended.
familiar with him.
Yeah, no.
And mentioned he was the one that she said that she knew of that might be able to help us out.
And did we get an engineer looking at the base of it?
Our engineering department declined to comment on a piece of art. It's not in the scope of what they're
Okay.
comfortable
Thank you.
commenting on.
Chicken.
Right. Okay, thanks. I just wanted to catch up.
Okay, so we're expecting something at the next committee meeting from Mr. Waller, sort of outline some options and some strategies, and there'll be
Yes.
some costs on that too?
Yes, especially with cost. What I would love is some feedback on what the committee thinks the life cycle of the piece is, and if you're thinking that, the goal or the finish line is for it to live in perpetuity, like 100 years, or if the feeling is that that is eventually going to come to a close, and that either a portion of it will have to be removed, or depending on what the proposal says, Bruce's opinion. My next steps from here are to speak with Glenn Anderson, who was one of the artists who worked on it originally as well, locally, and then to kind of reconcile the two opinions with the Public Art Committee.
I mean,
So that,
thoughts on longevity, yeah, go ahead, Meg.
My problem is that I'm not working from a base of any information at all. I have no idea what various qualities of mosaic, how long they last, and if we say this, then it's going to cost that, and those kinds of details. I really don't think we have information at the moment to actually be making those kinds of recommendations. Like if it was 100 years, then this is what the maintenance plan would look like. If it's tear it up right now, then obviously there's a cost involved in tearing it up. So I just don't feel comfortable right now.
And maybe we can look to Mr. Anderson, Mr. Waller to give us some parameters on which to say that, you know, you can plan for this to be here for 100 years, but this is the type of maintenance program you'd have to expect. Or if you think, 30 years is reasonable, and in 30 years there might be some redevelopment of that site, 20 years, then this is what it would look like. And if you really just think it should wear and tear and maybe last another 10 years, then minimal action needs, I think we're looking for him to help us understand what longevity means in terms of a mosaic. I know there's mosaics around the world that are thousands of years old, so I certainly believe that it's something that could last for a long time.
and that's where the question, and I mean, those were questions that I threw back to Bruce, and in turn, his comments back were exactly as that. You know, there's pieces that exist that are hundreds of years old in Europe, and so to gauge the committee's feelings on the piece from a cultural perspective and from a community asset perspective, I think he was looking at that to help guide the cultural investment that we would be looking to make. I can go back to him. I mean,
Well, I'll go to Catherine for a second, hold on.
I just have a question. I mean, has he been engaged to fix it?
No, I think he's just
He's just been
putting some numbers
Oh,
together.
okay, it's just 'cause
Doing an assessment.
Well, yeah, okay, it's just, I would have loved to have been involved. in
Yeah,
that
and I think,
conversation.
Devin, perhaps the next meeting with either Mr. Anderson or Mr. Waller, try to involve Catherine.
If I can, I'd like to
She's
do
our
that.
resident expert.
Well, such as it is, and
Yeah.
I've been doing it for
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah,
Um,
and she might be able to ask the specific questions that'll help us get there. So Devin, next time you meet with either of these guys, can we include Catherine?
yeah, no problem.
Thanks. Okay. But, I mean, just in terms of longevity, the one, in Italy, there are 2,000-year-old mosaics, or, well, in Greece there are, and
Yeah.
in Italy there's a good 1,700-year-old. That one outside, I mean, it's up for debate, but I think it has enormous historical importance. But anyway, that's another conversation.
I mean, there's some rock sculptures in the park, but really it was that first collaborative public art piece that our community's really ever done.
Pictures, yeah, the pictures and what's there.
Yeah. And the fact that it was kids, and so I think personally it has quite a bit of cultural and artistic
It's special.
meaning and significance. I think that's generally what we determined as a committee a couple of meetings ago, so. Okay, so we will get more detail at the next meeting. And we've covered off opportunity wrap for Government Road, we've done that?
Correct.
Can I ask a question about
Yeah,
that?
please.
Do we, and again, I'm the new kid on the block here, so everybody else may know the answer to this, but I'm just wondering, do we actually theme certain areas, like that's in Brackendale kind of thing? Do we put themes on different locations?
We haven't yet.
It's a really good question.
We haven't yet. When we did the project that Christina and Nick started, we started it off as a Connecting Communities project, and I think the original intention was to sort of take pieces that might be more relevant to Brackendale and integrate them into it never sort of manifests 100% that way, but the one downtown in front of the bike shop maybe have some bike gears involved in it. So there was sort of an attempt to theoretically create something that connected communities that was a bit unique to that neighborhood. I don't think really manifested out that way, but
Well, I'm just wondering if
I think
it's an idea to think about
It
in
is.
terms of branding the neighborhoods kind of thing.
Mhm.
If that might be an idea.
If I may interject for a moment, we're just talking specifically about the BC Hydro boxes.
or maybe, or just generally.
Or sidewalks
Yep.
or.
Oh. Okay, in general, I'll park that and let the committee decide that. The feedback, when discussing the hydro box prior was to leave, the competition open, with a wide berth of creative interpretations so that, it wasn't limited. But again, that can be changed, if the direction is, or if the feedback is going in a different direction at the time.
And I think there might be a broader conversation about some neighborhood public engagement about how neighborhoods envision public art being integrated into their communities or their neighborhoods. Public engagement is a big, fairly, it takes work and effort and needs to be done well. So, but I think it's worthwhile doing that, and it could be something we want to strategize over the next year in terms of how we might do that. Because to actually tease out public engagement on something like public art in neighborhoods, it might be a bit of a challenging thing. It might be an interesting thing too, but
It's almost a shame that we didn't think about that with the OCP process kind of thing in terms of.
there was some of that. Yeah, there was, we were definitely trying to get people, and our planners went out to neighborhoods to try to get people to talk about the vernacular of their neighborhood within the context of the OCP. It'll see how it really starts to, if it teases out in that way in the OCP. But there was a, I believe Sarah went out to various neighborhoods to try to make sure that you're getting that sort of tone.
Because we do have interesting neighborhoods in their own
Yep.
rights, so I think that would be one possibility in
Mhm.
terms of reflecting that to the neighborhood kind of.
Yeah.
something
Yeah, no, it's a good thought. If you want, I mean, you can always, in a competition, sort of say, we want the elements of this neighborhood, to come out in the art piece. But if you're looking for a neighborhood to sort of help define what that vernacular is, that's a whole other public engagement piece. And we could do that simply by doing some surveys and stuff and then see where that takes us. I mean, it's totally up to the committee.
My thought is almost to say, this one's going to be in Brackendale, so if you've got an idea about what Brackendale means, then go for it. This is in Valleycliff, so what does Valleycliff mean to you, rather than specifying what it should be? Just saying, these are the actual locations in the neighborhoods. What does it feel like to you as an artist?
Yeah. And that was part of the Connecting Communities one. And I know that when Christina's initial proposal came forward, she did have those sort of elements incorporated a little bit more.
Just a question.
Yeah, no, it's a valid question, and I think it's something to keep in mind as we. Anything else on those? Nope. I don't believe there's any status of recommendations from council. There aren't any referrals from council. Any roundtable? I don't know if Stan's coming back or if he came.
He got kidnapped.
I think he went to his office to try to save his pictures in a different format or something. He could have just stuck them on my computer. We just could have done this, but hopefully he comes back. Any?
I can certainly add it to the list of things to email out to the committee.
Okay, do you know what Stan was going to talk about?
He was going to talk about the Squamish Mural Festival.
Do you know any details? Did he share any details? Because he's
No,
not here.
the details that he was going to share with you were the submission to the festival.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and if the committee had any feedback on them.
Oh, okay. And when is the festival again?
August and September.
All of
Yeah.
August and all of September? No specific dates within that, it's just
I think it's just similar to Vancouver Mural Festival, it's just a
running.
running.
Oh, can someone go and see if that door opens?
They're all unlocked, I think that was
Oh.
the gem.
Oh, I was hopeful.
We can always recess.
We can. Or we can do round table.
Should be.
Nope. Yeah, go ahead, Catherine.
I made my first application for a public art project for the city of Vancouver in Mosaic. And, somebody's trying to call me. It's not really a bragging moment, but what it is that I finally did one. But what it is that it was really interesting looking at they did an open call, and deadline is today. And just their requirements and creating your own budget and what their expectation was for what the artist would be paid and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to pass that along if nobody's ever seen it. Like it's a large call, right?
Yeah.
So it's for projects over $20,000, $25,000 upwards to several $100,000. And
Yeah, their budgets are a lot different.
yeah, dream.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting, and the expectation was that when you're creating the budget, and my artist friends might know this, that 20% of what you're requesting will be what you're paid, and the rest goes
All materials
and maintenance.
Yeah.
And they put that into the bill, the budget as well, which I thought was interesting, and numerous other things. So I thought, if you haven't ever looked at that, it's worth having on file. Just some of the choices, it's very involved compared to, we're still building what we do.
Was that for a single project or several?
It could be a single project at several locations, if that makes sense. It was wide open. It could have been one sculpture someplace. It just had, the only confines is that it had to be within the borders of Vancouver.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. Maybe bring it to the next meeting.
Sure, I can email it to Devin or something. It's just, it was an eye-opener for me. And then being here and having seen some applications for projects here and just the juxtaposition between it, you can see why some people who think on a monumental scale for these things will get the job because their outfit is more professionally done. It was useful. I thought it was really useful. It was good.
Well, good luck.
And you already submitted it?
Thank you. Yeah, I submitted it on Sunday.
Did they give you location or will they?
You had to choose your location
Okay.
yourself.
Oh, they didn't
So
give any parameters whatsoever?
They didn't give parameters at all. They just said there were certain things you couldn't do.
Wow.
So I picked a wall in and around Canada Place.
And so it just had to be publicly owned by the city or, yeah?
There could be business ones as well. You can, they were
Okay, if
open
you
to
had the
having,
business agree to it.
yeah, if there's a business agreement and if the public could see it,
Cool.
which was interesting. So, lots of possibilities. I've found it fascinating and pulled it together fairly quickly, but it's something I wanted to do for sure.
I'd be like midnight, 11:59 submitting it tonight.
Yeah, no, I way too much to do this week. So I just went for it.
Nice.
I did it, then I stopped, and then I picked it up again.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Anybody else?
CARPAC has outlines for visual artists fees, and they can also help for insurance for public art.
Oh, yeah, and insurance was part of the fee, and part of it was built in as well.
We want some resources available to them.
Yeah.
Meg?
Do we have an inventory of public art?
We talked about this in our very, very first meeting, or our second meeting. And we actually had our GIS guy, Dan, come in to speak to the committee, because we would like to, at the meeting, we talked about going out, inventorying it, even making it almost a quest project, if I remember correctly, and actually GPSing it all and actually putting it on our GIS system database. And but we haven't actually gone out and done it. So it'd be interesting. I mean, that's certainly something the committee could do in terms of put together some funds to help pay for that process of people going out. Now, public art's a funny thing, right? It can come and go, and I mean funny in the most loving way. But there's certainly some pieces that have been there a long time, and it's it's a great idea, and we should resurrect it, because we did talk about it at our very initial meetings.
It
Yeah.
would be good, I think, too, because if we know when the installation was and who
Who
the
did.
artist
Yeah.
was and some of that basic information, because I think there's enough stuff going on. I don't think it needs to be done kind of instantly.
Mhm.
I think it could be built up,
Mhm.
but I think it's a shame to lose, some of that historical background and information. I'm
Mhm.
thinking, the loggable park, what's the background to that? So I think there's something that we really should think about.
There's some obvious ones, there's like some
I
big.
know at the beginning when Rachel was on the board,
Mhm.
on the committee, she had volunteered to kind of start to pull together a list.
That's right, and then she started working for us.
And then and then we lost her. So.
That's right. Yeah.
Even just a little map that could be easily
Yeah.
updated as the works change over
Mhm.
Yeah, I
time.
think we
That-
talked about that too.
That could be used.
Well, that could be
as-
easily generated from the GIS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then form the basis of a walking tour or a bike tour,
Right.
it's a tourism.
So, just on that, it's a matter of going out and get the coordinates so that and does it actually need the coordinates, or could we actually just have Dan put a dot on a map?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to
Probably
be
put it down.
Exactly.
north by blah, 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 and
Yeah.
yeah, so I think even if we just started making our own lists, and we could even, and I'm totally throwing this out to the committee, even just sort of take, I'll do Brackendale, and I'll do downtown, and I'll do the Highlands, and,
You could create a document on Gmail, and people would just add, as they see fit, everybody can be included on it, and then you can just add according to what they found.
yeah. Yeah, there's lots of random acts of art out there too, which I love.
So Whistler's working on something called the Cultural Connector, and they've been to Squamish, and I've been touring around with the person that's been tasked to take photos and catalog in an interactive map all the public art pieces for Squamish. So,
Is someone already doing it then?
yeah, so there's
Yeah,
some
it's
lots
part
of
of their-
kind of.
it's part of their fun.
Dorothy Raffle?
Rafa.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So Dee's currently working on that. Not to say we couldn't have something on the JIT, I just wanted to
It's part of the federal grant that the Arts Whistler got, and it's sort of connected with the Sea to Sky Arts Council.
So can they provide us that information and we
They
can upload
should.
it on our GIS?
It's federal money, they should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, exactly, and we're funneling that information to them, so we actually have that information, and Dee's been helping us take photos and put it into their map. Yeah,
So we should get that on our
We've done this
GIS.
before.
Yeah, definitely.
yes.
I haven't seen what it's all about yet, but I know
Yeah,
that it's happening.
it's live on their website, and they're just constantly updating, so I think it's Whistler, Arts Whistler / Cultural Connector.
Yeah.
Check it out. But again, not to say that we can't do our own thing.
Is the information proprietary? Like, I think we should get them to say, absolutely share it, and we'll just go onto the
If there's
site.
any problem along those lines, I would suggest going to Joan Richaud and asking her about it, because, she's in charge of the Sea to Sky Arts Councils.
Yeah.
And she might, I'm still trying to figure out what their role is, and that would, to me, would be an important role for them to, because.
Sydney, can you call them and just make that inquiry?
Yeah, we're in a recess right now, so we usually meet monthly as the Sea to Sky Arts Council, but I'm talking to
You
Whistler
would give them a
briefly,
call,
so I can
yeah.
give you a call
Yeah.
and follow up.
Meg?
My interest in doing that is not only to get an inventory of what exists and get a map, but also how do we start raising the profile so it becomes a central point in tourism Squamish publications and that kind of thing. Because I think once we start developing that database of those sites, then it'll raise the interest of people who are coming not necessarily for adventure sports, but for other kind of activities as well. Because I think there is lots here to see, but it's more a marketing and communication issue, it seems to me, that I think we're kind of dropping the ball on a wee bit.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see us up the
Yeah.
ante on that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I think that's great. I'm glad you brought that up, because it was part of our initial conversations, and I forgot that Rachel was sort of saying gung ho, and then she got a job.
Can I just say to Sydney, let me know if D thinks it's proprietary, because then I'll go to Mo and ask her why.
Okay.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm sure it's not, this has been sharing a lot of
I
information.
would think it wouldn't be.
Yeah, and we've been actually feeding that information to them, so.
I mean,
Yeah,
their scope originally was Whistler, and then it went like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's
exactly.
gotta be a reason, right?
Yeah.
They want to bring more people in for the arts in the region.
Only benefits everyone to get it out there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think they're really on board with bringing up the whole Sea to Sky together, so,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, but they are, they say they are.
Just to speak to a couple locations, I was contacted by Dee this afternoon for the water wall that Squamish Wind Festival did, and then the Fields mural. I also suggested the Squamish Can Bale House, because it's kind of a installation / art project.
I might have had something to do with that.
Yeah, so just to, I don't know what was said just before I ran in here and created the fastest PowerPoint presentation I've ever done in my
Awesome.
life.
Oh, yay,
But
thank you.
anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to speak to that
Awesome.
because
So
I
what-
talked to her
There's
today.
actually some buildings as well that are quite interesting, the Eagle Shelter, the Adventure Center, those kinds of things too. So it's gonna be interesting to see how do we start defining art in terms of.
Right, like some of the burled benches
Yeah.
Yes,
and driftwood,
so cultural locations, I guess.
I think it'd be a great idea to start something like a Google Doc sheet, because what we've sent them is, maybe up to 20 places, but there could very well, like you're saying, be tons and tons more. So the more information we can get together, the better as an information resource tool.
And I haven't, can you share what that
Yeah.
website is kind of thing too? And
Yeah.
how much information do
Yes.
they request? Is it artists, is it the date of installation, the date of, is it all that information that goes on as well
Yeah,
as a
like
photograph?
a paragraph on
Uh,
how it started, if there's info.
Absolutely, they want to include as much information as easily available, but they also want to make it something that's just not going to sit in the back end of a website. So they're thinking of cool ways like, oh, it would be great to get sound bites from the artists and make it more of a interactive piece.
Awesome. Yeah.
So they're toying with all these ideas. And
That's
I
great.
think Really open to feedback if we have
And
any.
they have budget.
So how do we, do you have online something with the list that you've already compiled? And then if we know of other, I was going by something the other day and there was this carved axe, where was that? Just randomly,
Oh,
On-
it's the Biennale by the Blue Trees, right?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. It was like, oh, yeah, I love those little random things. Okay, awesome. Stan?
Okay, well, that was a very interesting moment. So I compiled 5 artists that submitted to the small festival. This is the first year that I had sort of put this idea. I had met with you guys a couple of months ago just to sort of pitch the idea and just to get a letter of support. I've gone around to a number of locations to try to find walls and certain businesses that would be on board. Tracking down landlords was very challenging. That was
Yes.
one uphill battle that I had. So I have one commercial building and I have one private residence that has a, what's it called, like a frontage, or they have like where they're allowed to paint on the wall because it's so close to their house.
Right,
I'm not sure what it's called at this point.
like a retaining wall of some kind.
Something like that. Like basically, it's a big cinder block wall that they're touching, and they're allowed to do what they want with it because it's part of their property. So I have just sort of very quickly, have put together. This is the list of people that submitted. I just wanted to show you guys just to see what your thoughts are, and just so everybody's on the same page. Colin Elder, Jenna Gilbert.
Before you go on, Stan, and this is, do you think that it's worthwhile going in camera if we think we're going to be specifically talking about the merits of an artist?
I'm basically just kind of doing the run through
Okay.
of just a quick who and what they have as far as art is
Okay.
concerned, and then
Perfect.
maybe just the sort of the ballpark of what we are.
I know that's what I'm saying, it is being
What's that?
streamed and recorded, so I just
Oh, I
wanted,
see.
if all of a sudden we were getting into some sort of critique, I didn't
Oh,
want
no,
to
no,
do
no.
that in public.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
definitely. I'm just kind of giving you guys like
Great.
your eyes to see, just to be involved in what I have done with jury process. So,
Perfect.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
basically we're just streamlining just to make sure everybody's on the same page, essentially. I don't
Fantastic.
want to surprise you with like a really horrible image on a wall somewhere.
Okay,
So these are the 5 artists that submitted. Jenna Gilbert's out of North Vancouver. This is her version of the Talents range. It's very abstract, but very beautiful.
that's cool.
Colin Elder's a fine artist, very, very graphic in your face, but very contemporary as well. He helped with Chili and I on the water wall on the Pac West building that's now non-existent. A gentleman by the name of Quadis, I don't really know much about this person, but this was a small image of what they had submitted. And all the ballparks of the murals were kind of in the $2,000 budget, considering materials and artist fees. Sierra Taylor, who had just done the library wall, yeah, I'm a big fan of her, but I don't think we can work for some other projects later. Michelle Roski was involved with some different projects within the youth center. I would love to find a place for her just because she has a lot of merit and she's a younger artist. And then Baz Carolyn out of Whistler, very contemporary, very sort of well known as far as in the corridor. And essentially, through a small jury, they had picked 2 artists, and one was the Masonic Lodge was one wall, just above Pearls and below the new building beside, I'm not sure what it's called actually, but right across from the Pizzalicious
Yeah.
Sky High Lifestyles
Basil
building,
Mills.
Baz Mills building. So in between those two, it has a constant problem of graffiti being tagged on that particular area. So someone had reached out to me and asked to put a mural up there.
Awesome.
So if this, I think, would actually really do well. I've got some good feedback from them saying that this would probably be a great idea. So which would add a little color to the town as well. And then on 2nd Avenue, 37559 2nd Avenue, there's that frontage I talked to you about that Jenna Gilbert was sort of, we had sort of adapted to make it look. So it goes quite a ways back, but this is just sort of the gist of what it could look like. Yeah, it's a very, very big frontage. And then sort of, I kind of ballparked the mural costs, given contemporary. I would love to see them get paid for their work. A lot of the paint, I'm working with Deluxe Paint out of Squamish. They're coming to the table with in-kind donation, depending on the scale at which we're operating, but I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. I think that sort of 2 murals is lots for this. Insurance, supplies, equipment, signage. So this is all very well ballparked. And I think that all said and done, somewhere around $4,000 from the committee would be great, but this is just sort of a wish list. I'm not making any money off this. I'm just sort of putting this together. Deluxe Paint is coming to the table for in-kind donation, and all the money is going toward artist fees, insurance, and supplies. So it's a very small window of a festival because I am the one person, and this is the fastest presentation I've ever done in my life. So basically, I just would love your feedback on that and to see how we can kind of collaborate on this. I know that I said that I would come back and sort of discuss possibilities of working together. And I know this is your last meeting until the summer.
Until September.
Yes, exactly so.
So a question, I know it's hard to get word out there and get submissions. Did you try to go directly to Squamish Nation, see if there was some Nation artists that were interested?
It's funny you actually say that because Colin Elder actually reached out to a gentleman that he wanted to collaborate with. The one that was with Owls and Face here, I'll pull it up. He had actually reached out in his submission to actually work with the native artists to create something of this caliber. So that is, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name, but I know it was a local artist in Squamish.
Okay, so that there's a collaboration.
There is an aspect of collaboration in there, yes. So it's not so private interests. So.
Okay. Any questions for Stan or some feedback, comments? How long do you think it'll take, a month to, what's the time frame?
I kind of ballparked August, September, and
Yeah.
basically piggybacking on all the weekend events that are happening, just to sort of, say this is happening here at these locations.
Yeah.
Feel free to walk by with signage. I have a lot of signage that can be put on the sidewalk to sort of direct people in sort of a route or at certain intersections.
Right.
How many locations is it again? that you've got to
So
work with?
Just two at this particular time. So at the end of Second Avenue, or halfway down Second Avenue, and then
Between which streets?
it's south of Vancouver, so towards.
Oh, south of Vancouver, so.
Yeah. So towards
Like in
past the
Ted
brew pub.
Town area.
Yeah, Ted Town, just to the right, on the right side. And then the second location is heading
Cleveland
north on Cleveland, looking towards Diamond Head on the west side on the Masonic Lodge.
And that's that one.
That, yeah, could potentially be this particular piece. It's been adapted, but I think that considering the caliber of the gentleman's work, that he could work within the scope of the project.
Did you point out any other locations or?
Well, as I spoke to earlier, it's landlords coming to the table was very challenging. Contacting them and also getting them to actually reply. Because I basically was at a business level, and then I would have to go up to the next level with the business owner. So depending or not whether the business was on board, they would then have to talk to the landlord. So that was a little bit of an uphill battle there on my part. So.
Okay, so there weren't any other locations or?
Yeah, I mean, I have like many more, but I think with more time and more ability in the future.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not clear, I don't know the history to the project, so were the artists given a brief as to what you were looking for?
Yeah, I put out a call to artists a couple months ago and set up a pretty straightforward call. Having been on the Arts Council in past years, I've set up calls similar for like the Hydro Boxes in the past. Like I wrote that call personally. So it was, of a certain like your CV and certain aspects of your past works, and then what you propose for the actual project at hand. I left a lot of free rein on that because I would hope that someone that is going to do a mural would have a really good idea in planning aspects of what the costs were, and then the second part was just the layout and the language around it. So
I was just curious if there was any criteria that was specific to Squamish.
Well, and the second gentleman here, I spoke, like the Masonic Lodge wants something a little more historical. This gentleman here, or this lady here, spoke a lot about Squamish. She's actually done work in the youth center, and she spoke to Squamish teenagers interacting with each other and the environment because of the flora and fauna that is native to this space. So a lot of the people actually spoke to the location and the area within the community, which I think is a very good aspect of murals in general because it speaks to the public dialogue that's necessary within the context of art.
If another wall was found, would you do a third?
Yeah, I mean, I very well could. I mean, it's also budget constraints, but I mean, I would have to hit the ground running and produce more things. But yeah, I would love to see more than less personally.
Yeah.
But like I say, I'm only one man.
Yeah, no, it's just, like if we all of a sudden say, hey, what about this wall? You think within your submissions you would.
Yeah, personally, I mean, I really like the graphic nature of this personal image because I think it's just very graphic and unique. But if we were, it also depends on location, right? So depending on the business and the public area, it could speak to someone from the youth center. It could be, a little more graphic like this gentleman. So it just depends on the public space generally. So, but I'm open to it. Yeah.
And you got, sorry, just to go over, you got sponsorship funding from a paint company. So
yeah, Deluxe Paint in Squamish has said they come to the table with sort of an in-kind donation as far as
just supplies.
materials and such, but it just depends on the scope. So I'm at the point where now I'm kind of ready to pull the trigger on a couple of things, and I just want to make sure before I do that you guys are sort of first step. So.
Yeah, and so you're looking for some support from us for essentially $2,000 per mural at this point.
Ideally, yes, and it's all going towards insurance supplies and artist fees.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Any more questions for Stan? Do we have $4,000 in the bank?
In which budget?
Well,
would
in
this
the
theoretically
current
come
budget, in the working budget, in the working account, not the reserve account.
from? Yes.
I would think we're getting pretty close once you back out the once you back out the dollars
The second payment for the.
earmarked for the BC Hydro project.
Yeah, we'll get that
Confirm
information.
that.
I think the problem is Dan kind of needs a commitment now.
Oh, yeah, well, it's also the meeting. I mean,
Yeah.
it's totally up to you guys. I just sort of, considering yeah.
What we could consider is, you know, for sure, we could probably have X amount, and,
Fair enough.
and then should we come back in September and we know we have better idea of what our exact budget is, we could add
Fair
to it
enough.
at that point.
Well, yeah, we're still, I mean, I can schedule artists for September. So, I mean, if we could earmark, say, August, and then in September you guys have a meeting
Yeah.
and something is available, that would be great.
Unless we can figure out exactly where we are with it.
No, she hasn't put closing balance.
Can I have it?
Sorry. Yep, absolutely.
Any other questions for
Is it
Stan?
weather dependent?
Yes, it's outside, so August, September generally around here is beautiful, and there's generally nobody around unless there's a festival going on because it's so beautiful and people are on vacation. So yes, it is definitely weather dependent. With these two locations, I mean, Patty spoke about a third, so I don't know for that respect, but yes, it's definitely weather dependent.
And do you do photographs and a marketing kind of thing and stuff like that?
Well, that would be the idea. I've been managing a WordPress blog and a Facebook page and stuff like that, and just sort of putting things out as far as signage personally, just to sort of create some awareness. But it's a busy world out there, so things get lost pretty quickly. But yeah, that's the goal for sure.
Dan, it's Devin here.
Hi, Devin.
Tell if I'm interrupting anyone or not.
Go for it.
Having not anticipated an ask at this meeting today, what I'm going to get you to do is fill out some public art request form in the next little while, so that there's the paperwork to support the request.
Oh yes, for sure, definitely. I wasn't sure what the proper protocols, and considering I spent the last 30 minutes creating this proposal, that works with the technology. So yeah, I appreciate your accommodation.
We also did say if people have public art proposals, Arts Council came last week, or last time, the alternative school came, that we could consider supporting those things. So we are open to people coming to the table and saying, I've got something, and if we have money.
Yeah.
We just don't know if we have money. I can't read that at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. It'd be good, Devin, in the future, maybe just to always have a running total of what we've committed and what's outstanding at our meetings, just so we can make sure we're on top of it all the time.
I'll consider it a standing.
Thank you.
Just create a spreadsheet, like we do with council contingency.
Yeah.
To bring to every meeting. I'll show
No.
you what we do for that.
Yeah, go ahead. And then, yeah.
One other thing that I was just thinking that would be good as far as promotion is to incorporate these locations as part of the Squamish Art Walk in September. So that means that the locations kind of have to be input as a venue pretty quickly. So would it be Elena that would be responsible for that? So.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. I also took it upon myself to include this festival in the Culture Days, Pan-Canadian sort of open art studio event that happens during September. So I just kind of spoke to what I was aiming for and could zero in on it a little bit closer to the time, but definitely included it. So yeah, that would be advantageous for sure for our walk this one.
I mean, I think this is, I like to be able to support these initiatives in the community. I like both of your choices. I think they're both very interesting. I just have no idea if we have any money.
Yeah, no, like I say, I just want to keep you guys in the loop, and it is an ask, and yeah, I respect all the.
I'm not sure on procedure, but could we, if the committee voted that this was something that would theoretically like to support, vote on supporting it, and if there is funds to
Yeah, we
be
can.
found?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So we could, for example, put a motion forward that pending availability, we support the festival up to X amount of money.
Mhm.
And if there's X amount of money, we do it all. If there's not X amount of money, we can say $2,000. I just have no idea how much we've allocated with all the bits that we've done this year.
And what's the budget year? How much do we actually have that might come through the door until we get another allocation?
So the last 2 years, first year of the Public Art Committee, we got $15,000. The last 2 years, we've gotten 50. And what the committee's done is, I believe, 25 grand of each year we've put into a reserve to maybe in 4 years do like a $100,000 project or a really big significant project, or many projects within a context. So I think we have 50, in that. And then of the 25 extra, we put X amount into a maintenance operational budget that we might put towards the mosaic, for example. And then we sort of had a working budget of, I think, 15 to do all these sort of small projects during the year. Any given year, we can decide we want to do a medium-sized project if we want. You know, like it's all within the committee's purview to, but that's sort of how we've been. So we have lots in a reserve. Yeah.
Perhaps I didn't phrase that very well. My question really was, if we put all the money towards these projects, then we can't accept any projects for how long?
Well,
Until the next budget allocation.
Is next budget, so 2018.
And what?
January 1st, 2018.
January 1st.
In theory, we could start planning for the annual, I mean, city doesn't, we have enough to bridge that financing, let's put it that way. But yeah, the new fiscal year is January 1st, 2018.
I'm totally new to this committee, so I just don't know.
Good
It's a
question.
big time there's lots of projects coming through and then everything dries up in the fall and nothing comes forward. So I'm just wondering if we put all our money here, which is a great project, then because we're not likely to have any projects come through the door anyway between now and January 1st.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and sort of how it's gone is the fall, sort of October, November, December, we've sort of scoped out what we want to do the next year. January to May, April, we've been sort of putting out RFPs. Artists do their thing during the summer, ideally, and then we get into sort of conceptualizing again what we want to do for the next year's budget. And we can look at how much, so we don't anticipate, I mean, it starts raining in October and then nothing's going on outside. But
schools do come back in
Yeah.
September as well, so
Yes.
maybe
yeah, we want it, yeah, exactly. And within the, the committee, Robin can correct me if I'm wrong, I like to break the rules a little, but he's keeping me on track. But, I mean, we have this maintenance operation budget. If we're feeling like it's healthy, we, and we've got excess there, we can tap into that a little bit. I'm okay with that? Okay, good.
One of the reasons I ask is I was at a Trails meeting last month, and somebody from House and Secondary said this whole business of garbage all along behind McDonald's is really a problem. Why don't we put a big sign on the garbage can saying, there's not another garbage can around for 500 meters, use this one. And I thought, well, is there an appetite, is there an opportunity that we look not only at, like banners and crosswalks and that kind of stuff, but the garbage cans as well, to create an art project that invites people that says, here, look at me, I'm to be used. And again, in conjunction with schools and it's only a question for this committee, does it make sense, doesn't it make sense? I just thought I'd try and float it by you guys to see.
And those are all things that I think we start really sort of, looking at in the fall in terms of where do we want the next round of focused, themed, whatever we want to do.
Okay.
And maybe we do want, and maybe we want to target truth and reconciliation, or maybe we want to target environmental awareness, or maybe we want to target, and so we can choose to theme it that way, and maybe we can target people who throw poo in the woods in their little bags, as we were talking about on the weekend.
I'm going to start turning into the garbage lady here on this committee, I can tell.
Yeah.
But it just seems like it's a really practical kind of functional thing
Yeah.
for the district, a way of addressing a problem. So.
Yeah. Okay, why don't we, I'm just trying to think about what if, I'll look to Stan for a bit of guidance, what if the committee sort of said, allocate $2,000 right now, and then in September, once we have numbers, we may top that up, if you need it. At least, I think 4,000 we might not have, but I'm pretty sure we probably we have 2,000. I just have no idea what's left in there, but,
Can we support
or
both
3,000 or something. that way.
projects in principle, funding of 2,000, you know, and then a possible 2,000 in September for the second, because I'd like to support in principle. the
Yeah,
two
oh yeah, we
projects.
would absolutely, yeah. Yeah,
And then,
so is that a motion, Meg, that
Yeah.
that the committee supports the mural festival and the 2 projects, and that we'll allocate $2,000, and we'll consider an additional $2,000 at the September meeting?
Okay,
Is that all right?
that's fantastic.
That's a motion, Meg? Is there a seconder? Seconded by Catherine. Any more discussion on that? I don't see any hands. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion carries unanimously.
And we'll bring you the exact number for when this gets ratified on the 18th.
At council meeting?
At the
Okay.
council meeting, we'll have that, you'll have it.
And I was just curious, when are you guys meeting in September?
We usually meet first Wednesday of the
Oh,
month.
okay, okay, great, just curious. Okay,
Yeah, I don't know what that date is. Yeah, first Wednesday a month. And you're welcome. It's an open meeting. You just
Alright.
come because we're just a lovely bunch of people.
I'm very happy to come and hang out, for sure.
Awesome. And
Well,
yeah.
I appreciate you being very accommodating with my technological
Oh, your
glitches.
timing was perfect.
when you get that budget to council, my understanding is in the next week or a couple of weeks, you're gonna get it, can you circulate it to the committee as well?
Yeah, we'll get a
Yep,
committee.
we'll get it.
I'm not actually sure that council actually has to ratify these types of expenditures. The committee has it delegated to be able to do that, but, yeah.
It would be nice just to have.
Yeah, so but it would be good to get it to the, so we know what we have.
That was 2018.
And we'll make sure it's a regular part of the budget. We just part of the agenda, we just always have the budget, running tally of the budget in front of the committee, so we know.
September 6th is the.
September 6th.
Perfect.
Awesome. Best of luck. Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your time and thanks for doing a small little project.
Awesome. Okay, that's the end of our agenda unless somebody has something else to add. Yes.
Just for roundtable, going back to the underpass mural, I'm wondering, is it within the scope of our maintenance budget to consider any possibilities for fixing those chairs?
Yeah, maybe I'll ask Dan.
Do you know if it's been sealed, if the mural was sealed?
It wasn't sealed.
No.
No, I saw it. It was heartbreaking.
So, would it be worthwhile to seal that? And then it's easier to take the taggings off?
It is, because essentially it's a sacrificial layer. So you're power washing that paint off and then it creates a barrier to the next coat.
How much would a seal on that be?
Just depends on the volume of the material. It's pretty spendy. It's essentially like a protective plastic coating.
Are there a number of
Like,
murals
just
in
for a
town who
little
want to do
quart
that?
of that stuff, it's like $50.
Yeah. Are there murals in town that we would want to put that on that don't have it on? Does your fish one, for example?
Yeah, I mean, this is where you get into caliber of art. So, I mean, certain artists will respect certain murals, and then, you know, like, obviously those kids were young enough and probably even friends or not friends with some of the kids that painted. So that's the hard part to swallow. If there's a certain caliber of art under a bridge, some people won't tag it, but to go around and paint all of the murals in town with clear coat would be, there's your maintenance budget right there. So.
Oh, it would be that much?
Yeah, well, it's not that much, but I mean, it would be pretty easy to spend $10,000 to paint all the murals in clear coat, considering artist time. And
But that might be money we want to spend.
totally, it's an investment in the future, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, I'm just saying it's not the cheapest way to protect the murals.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that there would be a priority that we could set up, that some of them are more at risk, simply because it's
Location.
easier and there's not as much traffic going by them and that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
You
And
know,
that one-
it
that-
doesn't necessarily have to be all of them.
No, exactly. That one of the bridges definitely like very secluded, and I mean the new lights are great, but I mean there's nothing really, nobody's there most of the time. So.
Devin, can you contact the alternative school teachers and maybe give them a heads up that it's been tagged and that the committee's open to, if they're interested in clear coding, or at least open to considering clear coding that piece as a starting point? Because I think that is a prime location for tagging, unfortunately.
School's out,
Will do.
teachers are on holiday.
No, but I mean, just, I don't know if they have an email or something they might check on. Devin, can you do that?
Yes, will do. I'm able to be in touch with her.
Awesome. And the committee is open to maybe clear coding that one to start off, and we'll see how that goes, and maybe we want to actually set up a bit of a program that we allocate a certain amount to make sure we're doing that where necessary.
Well, we should, I mean, maybe the kids would want to do it, like,
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah.
we would just buy the supplies,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if I could speak to just that particular location, if you were to embrace the random graffiti that happens, and it was allowed to be there, not to say that the Sea to Skies Alliance School, sorry, I think I got that wrong, but
Yeah.
that they could go back there and paint more,
Mm-hmm.
and if everybody could, the caliber of the art would raise, and then things wouldn't be painted over so often,
Right,
just as a thought.
yeah,
But
okay.
that would actually change the scope of the surface itself, so I don't really want to change the project scope, but I think at the same time, you wouldn't spend money on clear coating, we'd be spending money on
Doing artwork
doing our work.
and
Yeah.
supporting artists.
So
Yeah, no,
it's
I hear that. It might be something we want to consider. I'm not, yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
it just depends on the avenue in which you want to go, but I'll let the committee decide on
And while we have you here, you're working on the one at Brennan Park currently?
that. I am, yes,
Awesome, and
And,
you're going to be done in the next couple of weeks? kind of thing?
exactly, yeah, I'm just
Awesome.
sort of chipping away at it, yeah, working
Fun.
around little kids.
Excellent.
Yeah,
It's
it's
going
been
well,
fun.
enjoying it?
Aging them.
Trying not to, they're pretty quick.
Yeah.
Before I know it, yeah, their hands in the paint and everything, so.
You're not
but-
going to tag it.
No, it's pretty hard to tag inside. Brennan Park, so, yeah, but no, it's been really great. Thank you, Deb.
Awesome. Okay, that's the end of our agenda. Don't see any hands. Motion to terminate. Sydney, Catherine, all in favor, opposed, motion carried.